Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and if this is the first time here on the channel, you are welcome to BLO'S Closet. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with us how I made this lovely gathered dress that I am putting on right here. So if you're interested in learning how I achieved this style, keep on watching and let us get straight into this tutorial. For this project, I'll be making use of this princess dart pattern that I already drafted in my previous video. So in case you don't know how to draft this pattern, I'll be leaving a link in the description box below and somewhere on the screen so you can click on it and watch it. I don't want to add it to this video so that it will not be longer than it is already. However, if you don't want a princess seam on your dress, feel free to draft a pattern with a normal waist dart or a dartless pattern. Just make sure that the length of your pattern is about 33 inches and you're going to achieve the same results. So here I used my pattern to cut on my fabric, and for the side front I have two pieces right here. I also have two lining pieces and I added half an inch seam allowance around this princess curve area. So for the center front, I have one piece which is on fold, and I cut the same thing for my lining, and of course I added half an inch around this princess seam area. For the back, I have two pieces for the center back and I added half an inch on the princess seam area, and I also cut two lining pieces for the center back. And for the side back, I also cut out two pieces. I added half an inch seam allowance on the princess seam area, and I also cut out two lining pieces. Next thing I will do is to join all these pieces together, but first I am going to separate the back pieces from the front pieces. I'll remove my pattern paper, separate the lining pieces from the main pieces, and here this is just me using chalk to indicate that this is the wrong side of this my fabric, because both the right sides and the wrong sides look almost similar. In fact, they look exactly the same. Now I am going to be joining my side piece to my main piece in this manner, placing right sides facing each other. I am going to take this to my sewing machine and I am going to align it properly like this, and I'll stitch it down using half of an inch. You can use pins to secure this first before you take it to your machine to stitch it down. So I am going to basically bring the other piece and align it like this too, take it to my sewing machine, and I'll stitch it down. I'll do the same thing for the lining pieces. I'll do the same thing for the back piece. I am going to separate the lining pieces from the actual pieces, and as you can see I have two pieces for my center back. So I'll bring one of the piece like this, and I'll bring one of the side pieces, align the right sides together, and then I am going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch it down like this. I'll do the same thing for the other piece for the back, and I'll repeat the same thing for the lining piece. I hope this makes sense. I hope I'm not talking too much. After stitching, you should have something that looks like this. This is my front piece. Okay, I now have one piece now for my front piece. So I don't know if you can see my stitching clearly, because both the wrong side though and the right side, it looks similar, and this fabric on its own has plenty colors. So this is the back pieces. I have two back pieces, and I also did the same thing for my lining pieces. So I went ahead to open press all my seams. I did it for the main piece and I also did it for the actual pieces. So the next thing I'm going to do is use my lining to turn over all of these pieces. So I'm going to place my lining for the back like this, arrange it properly, right sides facing each other. I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch around the neckline and around the center back, that is the zipper allowance area, by half of an inch. Around the armhole area, you can see that I have some excesses around the side piece, and if you watch the pattern drafting video, you see that I extended that part out by half of an inch just to make sure that I don't have any shortages. So it's better to have excesses and trim it out right now than to have shortages. So I'm going to be stitching around this armhole area and down the sides too, using about half of an inch. And for the front piece, I am going to be trimming out this excess that I have around the armhole. So after trimming this excess out, I am going to align the lining piece together, and I am going to stitch around the neckline using 1/2 inch. I'm going to notch it, make an under stitch, and then I'll go ahead and stitch around the armhole area by 1/2 inch, stitch around the sides by 1/2 inch, and I'll repeat the same thing for the other armhole and the other side. And after stitching it down, this is what you'd have. You have something that looks like this. I went ahead to notch around the neckline, the armhole area. In fact, I notched around all the curvy parts of this my dress. These notches that I made will ensure that I turn out this my fabric nice and clean without much struggle. So this is the front piece, and I just want to point out that I made an under stitch on the neckline area after making my notches to help the lining stay in place when I turn it over to the right side. Next, I am going to turn all these pieces to the right side, give it a proper press, and I have something looking like this. For the front piece, I folded it into two and used my iron to press the center so that I can have this ghetto line. This line is going to be helping me to create my curves at the bottom later on. Okay, so I just thought I should point that out. So basically, this is how everything is looking, very clean and nice. And the next thing that I am going to do is to go ahead and fix the shoulders. Okay, so I'm going to join the shoulders, and to do this I am going to turn my front piece inside out, only my front piece. Now I am going to bring one of my back pieces. Remember, I did not turn my back pieces inside out, so I am going to be placing it in this manner. The right side of this my fabric is going to be facing me, while the lining side is going to be facing my front piece that I already turned inside out. So make sure that the armhole area is also facing the armhole area. Just look closely so that you understand what I'm doing. So now I am going to pass it inside like this, in between the fabric and the lining, and I am going to bring it out like this, and then I am going to be aligning it at the shoulder. I hope this makes sense. I just sandwiched it in between the main fabric and the lining piece. So I sandwiched it in a manner that now the right side of the back piece is facing the right side of the front piece, and the lining pieces are facing each other. I don't know if this makes sense to you. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. So if you don't understand this, just calm down and watch it again, or you can drop your questions in the comment section. So after pinning this down, I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll stitch this down using 1/2 inch. I'm going to repeat the same process for the other shoulder piece. So after sewing this and you turn it over to the right side, you're going to see that you're going to have a very clean finish. All the raw edges is going to be concealed inside. There are various methods that you can use to do this, but I started to use this method because I feel like it's easier. After stitching, this is what I have, and what I'm going to do is I'll grab my scissors and cut out these excesses. I don't want too much excesses around the shoulder, so I'm going to cut out the excesses, and I'll also cut out those sharp corners so that when I turn it inside out, it's going to come out nice and clean. And now I am going to flip it to the right side, and you're going to see magic. Can you see how clean and beautiful it is looking both on the right side, and this is what it looks like on the raw side? All the seam allowances have been hidden. So this is what I was trying to achieve. Next, I am going to be aligning the back pieces together, right sides facing each other around the zipper allowance area, which is my center back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be measuring out where my zipper is going to end. So from that my neckline from the top, I am going to be marking out 23 inches, and this is because the zipper I'm using is 24 inches, so I marked out 23 inches. So if you have a longer zipper, make sure that your zipper stops at least 8 to 9 inches below your hip line so that it will not stress you when you're putting it on. So I took this to my sewing machine and I stitched it down using about 1/2 inch, and I make sure to back stitch it at the beginning and at the end to avoid my seams from unraveling. Now this is me trying to arrange my fabric together. I laid the front piece onto the back piece, right sides facing each other, and I am going to be pinning down the sides so that I can shape this my dress. I'll start taking all my measurements from the center of this my dress. Can you see this ghetto line that I have at the center from ironing that I did previously? This is going to serve as a guide for me So I'm going to place my tape on this gate line, and I am going to be marking a quarter of my bust measurement, which is 8.75 inches in my case. I'm going to be marking quarter of my waist measurement right here, and this is me marking out the distance from my shoulder to my hip, which is 26 inches, and I'm going to place my hip measurement there divided by 4, which is 10 inches. And then at the end of this my dress, I'm going to be marking a quarter of my hip measurement, which is 10 inches plus extra half an inch for ease allowance. So I'm going to be using both the help of my curved ruler and my straight ruler to connect this point. I'll also be repeating this same process for the other side of this my dress. So I'm going to be placing my tape on that gate line, which is my guide, and I'm going to be marking a quarter of my bust measurement, and this is me marking out my waistline and my hip line, and I'm going to be imputing my waist measurement divided by 4, my hip measurement divided by 4 right here, and my hip measurement divided by 4 plus half an inch for ease allowance, and this is me connecting the point. So it's basically what I did for the other side, so that we can have one full piece. Next, I'll take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to just follow these lines, and this is what I have after stitching it down. Our dress is coming together at this point, and the next thing I did was I attached my zipper to this dress. I used a white zipper. So this is what my dress looks like on the right side. My mini dress is ready, and the length of this my dress is 32 inches. I wanted it to be 33 inches, but I don't know why I ended up making it 32 inches. So if you're not using a princess dart and you just made a regular dress with normal dart, make sure that it's up to 32 to 33 inches in length. And this is me marking the distance from my shoulder to my hip line, which is 26 inches. So I just flip this dress like this so that we'll have a better view. So that mark that I made is my hip line, which is the distance from my shoulder to my hip, 26 inches, and I am ruling this out. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rule out the middle line. That is the middle of this my dress. This middle line that I'm just marking out is just to help me create my curves. It's not compulsory. So from this my hip line, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 inch. You can come down by 1 inch or even by 2 inches. So I am going to be ruling out a straight line, and this is it right here. And next I am going to create my curve. So feel free to create as many curves as you want, however you want, but for me I only want 6 curves. So from this my middle line that I created here, I'm going to be marking 1 inch on both sides of this line. Okay, look closely so that you understand. So 1 inch on both sides of this my middle line. Now from this 1 inch that I marked out, I am going to be marking out 5 inches. This measurement is not standard. Just use your head, use your discretion, whatever works for you. So I am also going to be marking that same 5 inch on the other side. With the help of these lines, I am going to be drawing in my curves. I think some people call it scallop. Let me stick to curve. So look closely so that you see how I'm going to be drawing in this my curve. I'm going to be using the help of my curved ruler. I am very bad at freehand or sketching in general. If I try to use freehand, my work will come out looking very messy. So feel free to use your freehand if you don't have curves. All right, so I am done creating my curve on this side. I am going to be repeating the same thing on this other side. So guys, the distance between these two curves is 2 inches because I marked 1 inch on both sides of this line. So next I am going to be creating the other curves at the side, and to do this I'm going to be marking this same 2 inches right here like this, and I'm going to mark that 2 inch on the other side like this so that everything will just be equal. Now again, with the help of my curved ruler, I am going to be creating a curve like this. So look closely so that you see what I am doing. Okay, so what I have here is now half of the curve that I have here in front. I don't know if this is making sense. So when I open it up, I am going to be having one piece. So basically now I have 2 curves, 2 full curves in front and half on both sides, which would give me a total of 6 curves when I open this up. So guys, you mustn't do exactly what I did. Use your discretion. This is fashion. Use your discretion, guys. So this is me cutting this out. I'll advise you to add about half an inch around when you are cutting this out, and this is what I have, you guys. I am going to take this to my sewing machine and I am going to stitch all around this my curves. And the essence of stitching on this my curves is to make sure that it doesn't stretch out when I am sewing it. So guys, can you see that I have one piece when I open it up like this, and I have a total of 6 pieces, you guys. So after stitching this down, this is what I have. So this stitch is just to make sure that the fabric does not stretch out. Now introducing my net. Okay, so this is the net I'm going to be using. It is white in color and I have about 10 yards. See, for this project you're going to need plenty nets, like plenty nets, because at the end of the day I had to do construction with this net. So initially I folded this my net selvage to selvage. Okay, so I folded the net into two. You know that this net is usually by 60 most times. I folded it into two, having 30 inches selvage by selvage, and I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch all around all these my curves. Now I'll take this to my sewing machine and I'll start gathering the net all around these curves like you can see me doing. Guys, please, emphasis on buy enough nets. I'm going to advise you to get up to 12-15 yards, especially if you intend to double this your net. I ended up not doubling the net because I realized that it wouldn't be enough. So what I did was I slashed the net into two. Okay, you know, I folded it selvage to selvage and I went ahead to slash it in the middle. So that's kind of like 20 yards of net. So I've pleated it in single. Okay, another thing that helped me is that this my net has a little bit of structure. So I advise you to get a net that is a little bit thick, but if you like all these soft veil nets, then please by all means buy enough, like buy it in large quantity. You cannot be stingy when you want to make this dress. So I'm going to keep pleating like this. Guys, please be patient with this process because it is not simple. If you have a gather's foot, feel free to gather it up and then sew it around your curves. But then I'm working with a large volume of net. I feel like that is going to take a lot of time. Even this one itself takes a lot of time, especially when you're working with manual machine. I think industrial machine will be faster. So this is sewing. Explore all options and use the one that works well for you. So I am going to keep stitching this down until I get to the end. Alright guys, I am approaching the end and I'm not going to stop my gathers exactly where I started. I am going to keep stitching on top of the previous gathers that I made, and this is just to help me conceal the net. I don't know if this makes sense. This is what I mean. Can you see that I have kind of an overlap situation going on here? So this is going to conceal the net. You're not going to see where I started from and where I ended, and this is what it looks like, guys. It's coming together, you guys. It's looking so beautiful, and this is what it looks like behind. Also, I am going to be cutting out this net because it's not going to be straight at the ends because of these curves that we have right here. So just lay this out on your table and grab your tape, measure out your desired length and cut it out. So make sure to cut it as straight as possible. So this is the lining that I am going to be using to cover up the net so that I will not end up walking around naked. So for the length of this my net, I have about 16 inches, and then for the width I have about 120 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hem the ends, and then I am going to be using it to cover up this my raw edges. So as you can see, I placed my net on the right side of the fabric when I was stitching, but for the lining I am going to be placing it on the wrong side when I am stitching. So I'm just going to scarcely pleat or gather this net in, and then when I turn it over like this, it is going to help me conceal all the raw edges. I hope this makes sense. So this is what I have, and flipping it over, can you see that you cannot see any raw edge right there? Finally, I am going to be trimming this dress off camera, and this is what it looks like on me. Can you see how beautiful it is looking? So guys, if you found this video helpful in any way at all, go ahead and give this video a like so that more people can get to see it. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Drop your questions, your thoughts, your suggestions in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.